All right, so this is the work together for 3-2. Um, there's a lot of different things going on here. We have instructions window here. We're in class. I keep, if you wanted, I would strongly encourage you to bring the instructions up on one sheet or one computer, either your Chromebook or the another computer next to you, since we're not sitting next to each other. Um, More room on the screen. There's a reference material here. So this is our 3-1 work together. Problem is with 3-1 work together, you have this screen, you can't see your screen, and you have the instruction screen. All right, so what I did is I took a screenshot of that so that I can have it up here and I can see it a little bit. So we'll often refer to this screenshot. This is what we did in 3-1, filling out our payroll register. And we're going to use a lot of these totals in here to help us fill this out. Okay. So the first thing we have to do, and I guess if you wanted to look at those directions quickly, I filled in a few things already. I just put some totals in so we didn't have to wait for me to type them. Some of this information in here is given to us. Unemployment taxable, federal unemployment taxable earnings is here and here. Reason they're so low is you pay the federal unemployment tax up to $7,000, and quite a few of their employees have have already reached the 7,000, so that's where these numbers are a little lower. And that'll come into play, later when we pay these taxes. If it's under $500, you don't have to pay it right away. So that's why it says first and second quarter, and they just give them to us. But that's jumping ahead. They'll give us some numbers that you can use. And then these two transactions on July 7th, we have to use our table and our screenshot or the payroll register to figure out or at least to journalize these transactions. So the first one, it tells us direction 1 here, calculate department payroll for the payment, and then no employees have earned more than Social Security tax base, unemployment tax base, or given to you. Okay, so then the rest of the time, we just need to figure this out. All right. So how do we go about doing that? If we go and we look at a few things, Social Security earnings is basically just total earnings. So up here on the payroll register, Carpet's total earnings is 2,913 and 71 cents. So we would put that there. Then we do Tile. Tile's total earnings was 3,763.76, and administrative was 1,760. So we add those up, and you get the 8,000 total. I just wrote that in already, so we didn't have to go through it. Then you multiply and again, where are you getting these? Right here in our earnings from the payroll register. Okay, and then it says we have some Social Security tax all figured out here. Our federal income tax, excuse me. This is our federal income tax from our married numbers. This number is 523.13. This is our total Social Security tax. They want it broken down by department so that you can tell and match your expenses with your revenues for that. So what we need to do is take this number times 6.2. It said none of them are above the tax base. So when we end up with is $180.65. Take this number, Tile, times 6.2, 3763 times 3.2. You get 233.36. Take 1760 times 6.2, 1.912. Do the same thing for Medicare. Take this number times that, this number times the 1.45. And why we're doing this, again, is we want to get each department's Social Security, each department's Medicare. Up here, we just have each employee's kind of situation, the payroll situation, but not broken down into categories. So we have tile here, 55, 54, 58. We have administrative of 25, 52. There is no withholdings here. And again, this number was given to us in our instructions. Now what we're going to do, if you remember from our book, there's a certain percentage that can go total for a federal unemployment up through the first 7,000 taxable earnings, and this is the amount left over. So we're just taking these numbers, multiplying them. State deduction is 5.4, so we're going to pay the state 5.4 and the federal for federal unemployment taxable earnings for this. So we're not doing our total earnings, just the employees' money before they get to the $7,000 federal unemployment tax base amount. So this is all the money that is taxable that employees have made below 7,000. Again, that was from our notes. So we take 1,300 times that 0.6%, so that's 0.006, and you get the 798. You get the 1111, and there's nothing there. And I wrote the wrong number in here. Sorry. 1909. Apologize. Okay, so that's that. State unemployment times the 1330. Okay, so state's going to be significantly higher. You're multiplying 1,851.42 times 0.054. And you get a total of 171.80. I got that right. So then you add the earnings from total payroll taxes. And then when you're looking at different things, you know, within these charts, we did all these different taxes before. We're going to be recording some of these totals later on. And so we want to make sure we're able to do all these. So we add up total payroll tax, and you end up with this number here. Now, again, when you're looking through, I mean, some of this is going to be from your notes. Some of that's going to be from, you know, kind of remembering. It's not so much that you have to memorize this stuff right now. We're trying to get exposed to it. And so that's what we're trying to do. So you're adding up Social Security, Medicare, unemployment for both federal and state. And when you do that, you get 302.70. You're going to take Social Security tax, Medicare, unemployment, and you get 399.03. And then you're just going to be taking the Medicare and Social Security for administration. So that number is going to be a little lower. And then you add those up to get the total. So that's direction one here. And again, I'm closing the directions a lot so you can see my screen. But that's direction one. And again, we got those two numbers from there. Journalize the following transactions for July. Okay. Paid the July payroll. So that's what we're doing next. All right. We're going to pay July payroll. All right. So we scroll down. Hopefully when this gets going. Okay. We go to the cash payments. JUL as far as. So, okay. And where are we getting these things? It's July 3rd payroll is what they're telling us we're paying. So we're going to pay off all three of our, if I could scroll a little bit, all three of our departments, carpet, tile, and administrative, Social Security earnings. This is basically how much is being taxed. But as in our payroll register, this is total earnings here. See how those are the same, right? So total earnings for each department is considered salary expense. Total earnings for each department is considered salary expense. We're going to do salary expense carpet. salary expense tile, and then salary expense administrative. We're getting those three again from the totals in the payroll register or the total Social Security earnings. But I would go from here, as this is going to be more accurate going down the line, in case you have some employees that actually are past the Social Security tax base. We don't have any of that, but it could be. All right, so then we're going to debit these expenses, those totals. Oops, sorry. We're going to debit these expenses from before. And we did these again in your payroll register. Salary expense administrative 1,760. Okay. All right, so that's the first three. Now we have all these different taxes, employee income tax that we need to pay. Excuse me. This is federal unemployment tax that we need to pay. So this is the one you looked up, married or single, 2 allowances, and this total 453. Federal income tax is going to be considered called employee income tax payable federal. Okay, it's a mouthful, but so this is going to be, I don't know why I got double click. Employee income tax payable federal. And what we're going to have there is that 453. Now this is a payable, so we're recording it in the credit. In our payroll register, state income tax is something we're going to be paying. It's 168. It is also going to be called employee income tax state for that amount that we found in the payroll register. So a lot of this is already done. We just got to know where to grab it from it. The next one in the payroll register is Social Security tax for 523.13. So we'll call that Social Security tax payable. That's an easy one. 523.13. On our payroll register deduction, Medicare tax. And the Medicare tax is 123. Oops, yeah, 123.35. I think that's what it said. And it's Medicare tax payable. Now we have health insurance, which we're going to call medical insurance payable. That's why when you saw that come up, and that's just the insurance being taken out. We also have retirement plan, so we're going to call that retirement plan payable. And that is for 380. So all that was done already. We basically just took all these numbers and copied them down. It'd be awesome if you can just highlight and paste it, but we have to put them in there. Again, federal income tax in your payroll register column is going to be considered your employee income tax payable federal. State will be employee income tax payable state. So instead of this, we'll just federal goes in at the end. So income tax, employee income tax, employee income tax federal, employee income tax state. Where we got these are the totals from your departments. These are under here, the earnings, your total earnings for tile, administrative, and carpet are salary expense, tile, administrative, carpet. So we're just copying this bottom line in your payroll register. And then the difference between debits and credits is going to be a payment. Again, we had salary expense of these amounts, but we deducted these. We want to record those and we want to pay the difference, 6,424. This is net pay. We pay that out, and then the employees can get their check. Excuse me. Okay. So that's transaction one. So let's go back to our instructions. Again, if you had 2 computers, your Chromebook going, you can have these up the whole time. July 7th, recorded employer payroll taxes for the pay period ending July 3rd, Memorandum 55. How did we record it? It's a memo, all right? So for this one, we're not paying taxes or anything, we're recording. So you go down to the general journal, and again, you're gonna do July 7. I'm gonna get rid of this. Again, it's saying record employer payroll taxes, all right? And so where are we finding these? All right, so we have employer payroll taxes. And where we're finding these total payroll taxes here is the Social Security, Medicare, unemployment that we found, but we're going to have to do it for each department. So we're going to have carpet, tile, and administrative, and these totals. So when we go here, we're going to call this payroll tax expense. What do you do with expenses? It's memo 55. What do we do with expenses? We debit them for the total of that table we found. Oops, I didn't mean to move that, sorry. So we're using these three numbers, total payroll taxes, and we're just calling them payroll tax and tile. And I'm just going to do that again, payroll tax administrative. And we're getting those debits from what you figured out when you multiplied Social Security, Medicare, unemployment for federal, and unemployment for state. 3464. Okay, now we have credits. When we're doing these credits, we want to be recording certain amounts. And so when we have these credits, we're going to be recording Social Security tax payable, Medicare tax payable, and you can also find, I believe, these here, Social Security tax payable, Medicare tax payable. But then what else we need to find is unemployment. Unemployment's not on here, so we're using this total, then the federal unemployment tax payable federal, unemployment tax total, state, excuse me. So we're going to go in that order, I believe, from left to right. Social Security tax payable, Medicare tax payable, unemployment tax payable federal, and unemployment tax payable state. And so we're, again, it's, I'm thinking the instruction said 7. So we choose Social Security tax, Medicare tax, just like we went. Unemployment tax, we were doing federal first, even though it's not the biggest. That's the way it's set up. And we're going to record these that need to be recorded down into the credits. These are payables. 122, 35, 1909, 171, 80. Okay. And we got those from up here. These two and these two. All right. So that's the second one. And that looks like the end of that general journal. So we'll go back to the cash payments journal because there's more room there. Again, if you had 2 screens up, I'm just going to bring them up one transaction at a time because it's so large, at least going across. All right. So on the 15th now, made a deposit using the electronic funds transfer system for paying our taxes. We're paying our employer payroll taxes for June periods. So we don't have the June, right? We only have up through our July period. So they're giving us these numbers. They're giving us employee federal income tax 859, Social Security, Medicare, and this is memorandum 56. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I thought you said we're in the cash payments journal. We are, but this is electronically funded transfer. It's like paying online. When we pay our taxes, we either pay with electronic fund transfer or we get refunds with electronic fund transfer. It's just all over the computer. So even though it's a cash payment and it's electronic funds transfer and it's a memorandum, we are going to be in the cash payments journal because we will be crediting cash. We will be paying something here. So they have it listed here, employee federal income tax payable, and that's federal, employee income tax federal. Social Security tax, and Medicare. We're going to do them in that order. So, employee income tax payable federal. The next one, Social Security tax payable and Medicare. Now, we haven't done anything with these. These are from a previous period. They gave us the numbers. So what we're going to do is put them in the general debit. We're recording and paying these off. We already recorded them in the general journal last chapter, or previously. We just didn't show us, but it's already been previously paid. So we've already credited these payables in the general journal. Now we're paying them off, so we have to get them off our liability. It's a bill that we have to pay. So 521.67. Again, we get these numbers from here. We recorded these last month. Now we're just paying them. It's the June. That's why they're giving us these numbers. Okay. So then, in order to, hopefully that'll close, we will credit cash again on the top line and talk about how we just put it on the top line. We'll credit cash for the total for that transaction. Okay. Yep. Again, that's from a previous month. We're just paying it off, getting rid of those liabilities. Credit the liability and then we pay it later. All right, last one. Or last two, excuse me. Made electronic funds transferred for these federal unemployment taxes and state unemployment taxes. They give them to us. 523. Close that. Sorry. 523.69. They give it the number to us. So what we're going to do is go down here to the 29th unemployment tax, and we're doing federal first, and we're debiting it for 523.69, and we're going to pay it electronically. 523.69. We didn't write this memo down, sorry. M56, M57, and then the 29th, we're also doing employment tax state. I'm thinking it was the same order, but I don't remember. No. Check number, we're paying a check for this one. Check 579. Okay, yeah, I thought there was something different. Oh, I didn't do that one. Check 579. I'm going to say this is 568 previously. I just didn't write it down. I apologize. Unemployment tax here. And they give this number 316. So we go over there and we pay these two taxes off. Pretty simple. Why is it a memorandum again? It's electronic funds transfer for these two. We wrote checks for these. So a lot of it is either going to be our totals in our payroll register. We just have to understand that these are earnings totals, so we call them salary expense. We have employee federal income tax. We're going to call it employee income tax payable, employee income tax payable, and then federal and state. We call this Social Security tax, Medicare tax. We call this medical insurance, medical insurance payable, retirement plan payable. And then occasionally we use these totals down here to get those, and then we help ourselves with this. They give us these, again, our earnings, federal unemployment taxable earnings is anything before $7,000 will be taxed. That's why these numbers are lower, because some of the employees have already reached that threshold. They said in their problems, and in the book they kind of talk about that. So that kind of completes our transactions for paying these taxes, whether it be our total expenses, salary expenses here, paying our employee taxable earnings for both federal Social Security and Medicare, or the unemployment.